Hence. Hello and welcome to An Evening with Comrades. Tonight we have with us Positist Pac-Man.
Good morning, Vietnam! Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday is Malaria Day. Get ready for the Ho Chi Minh two-step.
Jesus fucking Christ! How are we going to follow that? We also have with us Theo.
I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. Here to fucking kill you.
We also have the Red Mushroom.
Hello. My introduction's not so bombastic. It never is. But
We have with
the
us,
fantastic fungus himself.
we have Dip Dep,
Oh yeah.
and you have myself as host.
Okay,
Yeah.
throwing this out here, I am really fucking disappointed that Dip Dap didn't lead with "Without the Communist Party, there would be no new China." I'm disappointed, man.
My God. All right. So
Without the Communist Party, I couldn't fucking shit in the morning. Sorry.
well, we're off to a good start, everybody.
Damn it, capitalism. gives me
Toilets do not
constipation.
exist. They are capitalist
Under
bourgeois
communism,
conspiracy.
there will be one big
Fuck.
toilet, and we will all go at the same time.
I may have just thrown a coin into a creek on accident.
Oh
So,
God.
First up, we're going to be talking about Puerto Rico. Very recently, there has been a wave of protests out front of the governor's mansion, and they're calling not only for his resignation, but some places are reporting that they want him to resign, and they want Puerto Rico to become independent. Submedia should check those guys out. They're really cool. Submedia is also reporting that they've been rioting for 7 days straight.
There's been a lot of fires I've seen.
Can I start us off?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. So, remember how last year, I think it was, maybe even before that, I can't remember, I think it was last year, how hurricane hit Puerto Rico. And power is still not restored on the entire island, by the way, because Orange Man doesn't want to do it. So you have, like, in a lot of places, private contractors that set up power again. But in a lot of places, it is like local community organizations and even like I've read articles about like local anarchists setting up like helping to set the fucking power net back up. So the people of Puerto Rico have been, promised right after the storm hit, power's gonna be back up in like a fucking week. It's gonna be fine. I think it's been like 8 months.
Yeah, Hurricane Maria was a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's like the American government is unable to perform its basic function. Case in point, Flint still doesn't have clean water. It's been like, what, 7 years now?
I think 7.
Yeah.
And more regions are getting that level of lead as well.
Yeah, like the American government is slowly but surely losing its grip on the ability to perform even the most basic governmental tasks. Providing infrastructure is the first one. Like, that's sort of the thing where you run out of justification, and that's why people are on the streets.
I was reading an OECD study said that the United States infrastructure is on the level of that of a developing nation.
Oh yeah, their bridges keep collapsing underneath them.
Yeah.
And so then that carries on to their not colony, Wink, wink.
Indeed.
And then we get the situation we're in now.
Yeah.
Although,
Has there always been, say, a historical ignoring of Puerto Rico, though?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
big time.
A lot of Americans forget it exists, and a lot of Americans don't even consider it part of the United States. They sort of look at it as this, like, oh, this thing we took from the Spanish, and now they're leeching off us. Like,
Also
like,
interesting. If you were born in, say, the United States, say you were born in Maryland, then you move to France, you can vote for president in the state that you last lived in this case, Maryland. If you were born in, say, New York, moved to Puerto Rico, you can't vote for president.
The land of the free, the home of the brave, unless you're in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
Or Guam, or the U.S. Virgin Islands, or any of our other not colonies.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, the U.S. is not an empire; it's a republic.
Imperialism is when you have an empire. I read Lenin.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have empire in the name, guys.
Said every dengist ever.
So this problem is a systemic one from the US's imperialism on, its neighboring islands and whatnot. So
The thing is, they're not even extracting any resources from there. It's just prestige.
It was America's first colony. It's baby's first colony.
How about 70% of the entire United States? But go on.
I mean, yeah.
But I mean non-contiguous colony.
manifest.
Oh well.
They bought Alaska first, but okay.
Yeah, but I mean, as the capitalists would say, well, I paid for it. Look, maybe. I mean, I was just gonna say in the Manifest Destiny comment, they're gonna manifest their destiny all over you. Depends how much natural resources you have and your geostrategic location.
Ah, shit, my hair's pretty oily today. I gotta watch out.
So, with Puerto Rico being finger quotes a part of the US, how reliant are they on the US?
Almost entirely. Well,
The thing is,
not.
they would be if the US provided any of the fucking services that they should.
To
can't
any
get
part of
worse.
the country that's not like literally like within 100 miles of Washington.
I mean, I think it's one of the greatest pieces of fictional media I ever watched. There was a really blatant ripoff of a Tom Clancy novel. Tom Clancy wrote a novel called Command Authority, and spoiler alert: a disgruntled Japanese man, after a bunch of Zaibatsu nationalists start a war with America in the previous book. Don't ask me how that goes. They decide, okay, this airline pilot crashes into Congress during like the inauguration of the vice president, who's the main character, and basically kills the entire U.S. government. And so Netflix made an adaptation of this called Designated Survivor, and it was proof that the liberals are at it again, because there's this moment where a tsunami hits Puerto Rico, and like the president sends his special advisors, and they're having a calm and collected discussion about how we're going to restore services to the people and how great this independent is because the rest of the government's been killed. Which, to be fair, I can get behind. Eastern Marshlands doesn't support violence, yeah, it's the like if you look at foreign policy from the United States. Ever since it took control of Puerto Rico, it's just kind of there. It's kind of like a U.S. airbase in the Caribbean, basically.
The Caribbean is a U.S. airbase at this point. Except for Cuba.
Everything but Cuba.
Yeah, only Bro 555 says that it's basically a tax haven as well for a lot of people.
It is, which is a huge thing why a lot of Congress doesn't want to let it go. Because where do you think all their money lies?
Oh,
Where do you
dear.
think that is?
yeah.
It's not in the Cayman Islands, that is.
Well, if the resource in Puerto Rico is congressmen's money, will these riots and protesting against the governor even turn into an independence movement when there's such a strategic asset in Puerto Rico?
Probably
Well-
not, but even if they were to achieve independence, I'd say it wouldn't be any
It
kind of
wouldn't.
meaningful independence.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, at this point, it may, although it may be an independence out of necessity, just because, okay, you're not giving us the services. Can we get our own? No, you're not a state. You have no rights in here.
I mean, you just look at the neighboring countries. Like, look at it. You've got Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Dominica, Martinique. You know,
It's kind of taken to comparing the the US is sort of is to us what the Ottoman Empire was to 19th century Europe. It's like this amalgamation of things that is so anachronistic, and although we didn't directly fuck it up, that was all them. That you're just thinking, when are you gonna fucking die? Like the US at this point is an old man that forgets where his yard ends, so he goes over there and beats people up for being in his house. That's not his house. Hey, get out of my lawn! You fucking fucking kids!
You bloody kids getting on my yard! Oh, that's the wrong accent, but you get.
Let's remember what happened the last time a Caribbean country with strong ties to the United States declared its independence. We all know what happened to Grenada.
But they built an airport. What?
They can't do that.
You're not allowed to build an airport on my island. You're building an airport on my island.
Only I can have planes. You're not even allowed to know what that is. That's secret information. I'm gonna kill all the birds
What?
to give people ideas about planes.
I mean, look.
Yeah, go ahead.
Killing all the birds there, Theo. Anti-avian gang, to be fair.
Only Bro 555 asks, does EML support the balkanization of the USA?
Yes.
Oh, Sean!
Bomb them now! Bomb the fucking Sarajevo!
Here's another.
Well, not the balkanization, the complete dissolution of all nations.
Here's another question though. Since the Puerto Rican the protests that are starting up here, they seem to be based just around anti-US meddling in the US because Puerto Rico is a part of the US. So
yes, it's
is
a direct
it a movement
consequence.
we would actually need to or have to or want to support?
I mean, purely because the reason that it's happening is because people are suffering under an incompetent government that is unwilling to do its basic duty to its people. And we should support it simply because it is people going, hey, I don't really feel like dying, you know?
Well,
just under that, yeah.
I only have to say I've said all I need to say in the chat regarding that topic. It's like realistically, in terms of like balkanization of the United States, that's my policy on what we should do with the United States. But in terms of yeah, well, look, you can't
the
have
US
a nation.
is way too big. It is way too big.
You
I
can't.
think sorry.
You can't have a nation if there ain't no habitable soil on it.
Oh my god.
All that people in Fallout.
Thermonuclear
I mean,
diplomacy.
Thermonuclear diplomacy is a perfectly good word of it, but we should support the Puerto Rican uprising for the same reason we should support all popular-led uprisings for the most part, anyway. In the
Don't
sense
support
that
Hezbollah. Don't support Hezbollah.
no, don't support that. Don't
that-
support Hezbollah. Don't support Bolsonaro's gang.
or the Taliban.
Or the Taliban. But we should.
Mujahideen. Wait, no.
Don't
I
support
mean,
fascists. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Don't support fascists. Any other type of uprising, we should at least give some credence to, mainly because anything. Well, maybe it's just me being me, but anything that upsets the power structure that be is useful.
Which
That's
was
the point.
literally
And
my
I don't think it really upsets it that much, though. It really only kind of like barely reshifts power, which isn't going to do much. It just puts one more in that place.
Yeah.
Fucks over the
although
Americans.
I do
though.
agree. Although I do agree with it is about prestige at this point, and that's something that needs to happen to the US before it can to the American people. The American government is untouchable at the moment in their eyes. Because
I would like.
The only thing
I would
that
agree
can, the only thing that can really bring down the US is the incompetence of the US government.
Yeah, the last time, confidence in the US government was down and that people actually questioned what they were doing was when they got their asses handed to them by Ho Chi Minh and his gang.
I swear
Man.
you're about to
Good,
say
good
War of
times,
18
good times.
Kills.
Look, all I'm gonna say is that, I don't wanna get myself outed for being a crypto tanky, but in the words of the immortal Uncle Joe, anything that hurts America must be critically supported. XD. Every tanky ever 2019.
You could have just gone with the Marx quote from the manifesto. The communist movement shall support something popular uprising against the reactionary class with, well, sure, we're not fighting monarchists anymore, but, it's the same sentiment.
Yeah. Well, with Trump, I guess we kind of are fighting monarchists now, really.
Well, yeah. But,
Well, if we are
oh, and
to
of
fight,
course, condolences to our friends in the Isles under the yoke of Quain.
if we are
I
to
mean-
fight, and as internationalists lend support, what support can we give beyond just what we're doing right now, which is talking about what's happening in Puerto Rico?
Matt,
That
Lasnet in Melbourne does demonstrations,
yeah,
do that kind of stuff. Latin American solidarity.
get some flags, get a bunch of people together, surround the American consulate, and make them feel uncomfortable.
That's all.
Exactly.
Making Americans feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Praxis.
Look at all of this free
As
healthcare I
an American, I
have.
support making Americans uncomfortable.
Making Americans uncomfortable is praxis.
I mean,
Could we say
yeah, I mean,
make America uncomfortable again?
Again.
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Again. Yeah, I was gonna say again. When was the last time it was uncomfortable? I mean,
Vietnam
when-
War. I
when
thought
When
we
did the
finished
Vietnam War end?
Yeah, true.
1968.
But Ho Chi Minh is like the boy. Like, let's be real.
Oh, he
here.
is. He is.
He's a good lad.
Like,
It's too good for this world. Too good for this world.
yeah, he was so fucking G that even Mao tried to stop him.
Well,
When-
Mao wasn't as much in control anymore.
Nah, it was the Dengists. You see,
Yeah.
if we need any more evidence that the
fucking-
Dengists are
oh my
fucking
God.
cancer,
The Dengists supported Pol Pot because they were afraid the Soviets were going to gain influence in Indochina. Because
We're gonna-
Vietnam got the...
We're gonna get.
No, literally, because Vietnam got their fucking... Can I just finish this point?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we
Go
can
ahead.
move
Go
on?
ahead. Sorry.
The fucking Vietnamese got their weapons mostly from Soviet imports and shit. A bit of Chinese, but a lot of it was Soviet, AKMs and shit. So the Chinese, after Mao got sort of pushed to the sidelines, good old Deng was very concerned with the growing influence of what he saw as a Soviet satellite state in Indochina. So he supported a genocidal maniac in Cambodia to kill them all.
We're gonna have
Oh,
Dengists in the
God.
A
comments
communist.
again. If there are Dengists that are gonna complain in the comments, just come to my house and
Again.
fight me.
That is straight up a fact. Like,
I mean,
you have
look.
you got two options here. Either you're gonna say, no, Deng didn't send weapons to Pol Pot, which I can prove that he did, or you can try to defend Pol Pot.
Look.
But you wear
Way
glasses,
Western
son.
man.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I mean,
I think
the
we've
thing
gone a
is,
little off the rails here.
Yeah,
you
sorry.
think we're off the rails yet? I'll tell you one thing. You see, the thing is, the Dengists are like, they live in their own little world. But look, I'm sure they're not all that bad. I mean, all four of them are pretty good, I guess.
Wrong. They're all bad.
Actually, let us segue. Dengists. Peter, Jason Unruh.
Yes. Now, if anyone saw my rant about the tragedy with Kyoto Animation, because I'm a weeb, so that hit me pretty hard. Jason
Let's
Unruh's
recap
response
what
to that-
happened. Let's
Okay.
recap what happened in Kyoto.
Okay, so
Kyoto.
long story short, Kyoto Animation, probably the greatest anime studio in history, the only one to pay its workers a salary instead of being paid by frame of animation that they do, and the only one with a full benefits package for their employees, was attacked by somebody who had a serious issue with mental health, and just basically for the first time in a long time, it was legitimately someone who was just fucking crazy. Burned down their studio, and because of the work environment that an anime studio is, they're all very closely together. So 33 people died.
Yeah.
And Jason Unruh's first response was the typical crypto conservative sort of behavior.
Gang tweet, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like if you're upset about an anime studio, what about the 20,000 kids dying of starvation? And I'm just sort of sitting here.
That's not the tweet I'm mad about. That's not even the tweet I'm mad about. That's just him being stupid. I don't know if you actually saw that one. There was a tweet where he called guy that bombed, in a fit of irony, he called the guy that set the studio on fire a hero. #anti-degeneracy gang rise up.
That's the one.
I didn't see that tweet.
I went on a rant myself on Twitter, and I basically just pointed out that degeneracy is inherently a fascist concept because it relies on aesthetics, in the sense that the idea that society ought to be a certain way is inherently in opposition to a materialist analysis, and is thus inherently idealist. And it relies upon aesthetics to form a worldview, which is fascism. That's what we call fascism.
I was apocalyptically furious. I
I
cannot.
think we all
I could see in your video you were trying to hold back the rage.
I was very unhappy about that because
he was celebrating the deaths of workers. That's what he was doing.
Let's put this into perspective. A self-proclaimed communist fights the death of innocent working class people. Funny because he got into a fight and doesn't like people who enjoy certain things, and I don't know.
Is this even the first time he's been edgy?
No, far from it. Dude's a fucking red fag.
He's an idiot.
He's
a fucking moron.
He's just an edgy fucking neckbeard who fetishizes authority. He's not a communist. He just wants a fucking strong man. He's a fascist.
he's literally a
I-
fascist.
As someone who was a proud member of the Neckbeard Gang, because I need to shave and it's horrible right now, as you could see in my video.
There's having a neckbeard, and then there's being a neckbeard.
Being a neckbeard, yeah, you've got a very good point there. Fucking hell! Oh, he acts so fucking up himself. It's ridiculous.
He's
Like,
he's dug
Also,
himself even
if you look at the
deeper.
tweet, you look at the likes and retweets. Monarchists, fascists, neo-reactionaries,
Yeah.
dark enlightenment.
Not only that, he's pinned the tweet. No one.
He's
no one
proud
cries.
of himself.
Yeah. Fuck me.
I remember mentioning before we went live another one of his incidents where he berated a YPG fighter passed away as like an American puppet or some shit like that. As if they hadn't done more for the cause than he had ever done in
Jason
his
Unruh's
life.
Jason Unruh's politics rely entirely upon the aesthetic of communism. It is the aesthetic of the strong working man, which Peter, I have a quiz for you. What do we call a political ideology that is based in aestheticism and in aesthetics?
I'm gonna go one step further on your analogy, Theo. I'm gonna take Nazism for 500, Alex.
Yeah. The
like-
strong, pure worker, and the working class, the purity. Purity's a fucking bullshit concept. Just saying, doesn't exist.
Very much so it is. It's like
Yeah.
this dumb fucking idea.
Only Bro 555 says at the Red Mushroom. Remember, he lost a debate with Richard Spencer, of all people. Is he when he does that, when he takes his ideology and his worldview into a debate with fascists, is he doing more harm than good? Not just with platforming a fascist, but making us all look bad.
We look like fucking idiots if he represents us.
How do I put this? Dude fucking rage quit out of a debate with Muke.
I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah, like granted, having met Muke, I like him. He's a fellow weeb, but at the same time, he's also one of the most insufferable human beings I've ever spoken to. So I don't know if I can judge Jason too much.
Muke, if you're
on that-
listening,
No,
those are the
the
views
thing
of
is-
Posidus
The
Pac-Man.
thing is, I saw the debate, and Muke was at his most civil, which granted isn't a lot. Sorry.
No, Muke. We
But-
love you, just so you know.
He
I've
was
never
at his
spoken
most
with Muke.
civil,
I have no affiliation to any of these views.
and
No,
he
neither do
was
I.
like,
Muke, it's okay.
Okay,
if
can
you
we
don't
please-
like it, you
it's
can
like-
go to Pac-Man's house and fight him.
yeah, no, but he was like,
with
hey, can we get back to the point? And it's like, you're misrepresenting me. I didn't say anything.
Jesus Christ.
And then he
Muke doesn't
fucking
have to
rage
say
quit. It's like, I don't see the point in this debate. Then he hung up. I'm like, Jason? Hello? You there?
Yeah, like Jason, I think, has anger issues. I'm gonna say that. He can come to my fucking Twitter and say that all he wants and say he doesn't or whatever. But like, I think it's pretty clear.
It doesn't even matter. The point is, Jason, if you're listening, I know you're not, but if you're listening, you're an asshole. And I would very much like you to delete your account.
Delete yourself.
Thank you.
Cordial.
Delete
Yeah,
your
cordial.
account.
That's-
Delete your account.
Step on me, G. Step on me.
Is it our, say, job or obligation or responsibility to keep the left in its presenting its best image? And if so, what do we do
no.
when people like Jason Unruh
Not
do
our
what he does?
responsibility to police people,
What
but
it is,
we
though,
can laugh them though.
thing is, Jason, I don't consider him a leftist. Jason is a crypto fascist. And, well, he should be called out as such. That's sort of where our responsibility starts, where people stop just being bad leftists, and where people are using, leftist aesthetics and talking points to push a reactionary, racist, or perhaps even fascist agenda through it. That's where our responsibility as leftists starts to draw a clear line in the sand where we say, that's not us.
Bashing
I go a
fascists is
step
always
further
okay.
there, and I say that okay, I take the idea that like the idea of being a leftist is dumb to me.
Yeah.
I'm a Marxist, not a leftist. Leftism to me implies a unity between ideologies that are irreconcilable.
Yes, well, I do see that I do see common ground between, libertarian Marxists and a lot of
Anarchists.
branches of anarchists. Not all anarchists, but a large branch of anarchists.
Anarcho-Marxism.
Anarcho-pacifists, we're looking at you.
It's like, I mean more in the sense of like mutualists, who,
Yes.
All 10 of them.
I'm sorry, I hate to say that I've met more than 10 mutualists.
It's
Oh,
a
that's a
joke.
shame.
Yeah, I mean, people always make that joke about counts lists, but I'm pretty sure like half the people in this fucking server are counts lists.
Yep, hi. Well, I'm not specifically, but
I'm not a
Rosa Gang
council,
rise up.
but we have to remember that councils are inherently the organization of the proletariat
Yes.
in the
Yes.
abolition of the proletariat.
I do specifically use it because when I explain Marxian economics to people, I tend to verbatim quote Pannekoek, and that's why I use that. Because
I quote Rosa a lot.
Rosa is a good theorist. Like, there's definitely like bit of a quote unquote issue. Wouldn't even call it an issue. Of people just identifying with her because libertarian Marxism, but I do think that her work, The Accumulation of Capital, is one of the most concise and well formulated pieces of economic theory.
The Queen of Sass herself as well. Let's not forget that.
Yeah,
She's the absolute Queen of Sass.
I think we've gone a little off topic.
Off topic.
yeah. It was
off.
very emotional. It was very emotional from us, so that's kind of why we had to get that out of our system.
I think the consensus here is fuck Jason Unruh.
Fuck Jason Unruh.
I'll drink to that when I get home.
All right.
I'll drink to that right now.
Well, let's move on to our next little item. Little item. It was actually pretty big. But before we do move on to the next item, I just want to remind
Unlike
everyone.
Jason Unruh.
Yeah, unfollow Jason Unruh. Fuck him. He should cancel himself. Remember to like and subscribe, and remember that we have a donation link down in the description. And when you donate, while we're live, you can see your name appear. So here's a little test donation. Thank you to Hypothetical John for Jesus Christ, $57. My God, it's gonna buy a lot of kebabs. So
don't forget to if you want to donate to our Patreon.
Yes, you can also donate to our Patreon. There should be a link in the description as well. So, very recently...
We promise we won't spend the armor on. We won't spend the money just on armor DLCs. We promise.
Yeah, I promise. It's
Well, I can. I don't play a lot of video games, so yeah, I can promise. I'll spend it on books though and coffee. That's what I buy.
So
I buy books and coffee. I'll spend it on that.
Very recently, it was Amazon Pride Day, when Amazon tried to get
Pride, please.
Prime Day, sorry. Where Amazon attempted to get as many people as possible to buy their shit. But workers around the world decided to walk off the job on that day. protesting over.
Fuck yeah, boys.
Yeah. Striking, I should say, over conditions in fulfillment centers, underpayment, and I believe, I think there were a couple of other things. What I
I think
want
there was a thing about the lack of healthcare.
lack of healthcare as well. I think that's a special.
The people having like really shitty conditions of like actually having someone have a miscarriage on shift.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like when we're talking conditions being bad
Amazon
in these warehouses,
bringing Foxconn to America.
We're talking about like Gilded Age America, where child labor would lock you inside of your factory if it caught on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The only reason we have fire escapes is because American trade unionists got together and said, "Hey, a bunch of people died, and we have fire escapes," and they
Yeah,
just
New York.
and they just fucking like everyone lost their shit. Regulatory building codes for the plebs? Oh no!
Even more outrageous, it was women that pushed it through.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Is it because of the factory that burnt down where he locked all the women inside?
Yeah. Tip that you're in America, wherever that may be. Could you give us your impression on the news coverage of the Amazon strikes in America? And while you do that,
I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't watch the news.
Okay.
I don't watch TV. I've not watched TV in 5 years. My guy.
Good point.
I don't do that shit.
I'm
I
really
read.
sorry. I'll be back in just about 30 seconds. I'm real sorry.
I got books to read, my guy.
You should see my shelf. Jesus Christ.
Which brings me to read the ICT. Read the ICTs for communism.
oh god.
Good book, 44 pages. Read it now.
I just love it. I'm reading through all the news channels. And like none of the major outlets are covering it because Amazon is putting a squeeze on them.
Oh yeah, Amazon owns them. It's like all these big companies own news organizations. So why would I watch the news?
Good for sanity retention.
Like, that's why I don't watch the news. It's because of this shit.
Okay, human beings, not robots. Peoplesworld.org.
You know what's a-
like it's all of them.
You know what's a good
.org
trick
for the
around that?
ones.
You know what's a good trick around that?
What?
Watch read newspapers from abroad that have an international page.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you read, don't watch. Watching news is cringe. Sorry, to me, anything like I use this term cringe for everything now. So news, that's cringe.
Everything is cringe.
Yes, it is. Stop being cringe. Read the ICT.
Look,
The ict?
I try to. The ict.
The ict.
I try to keep up with news by I know it's very dubious, but I do watch news, quotation marks, but I use independent sources and I use YouTube people rather than mainline news outlets because yes, you have to do a lot more quality control and fact checking when you do it, but you actually get unvarnished opinion. You actually get people getting the news and then saying what they fucking think about it. Because USA Today, the BBC will say whatever they are told to say.
Yeah.
I mainly read the BBC for the headlines, just because they tend to be quite comprehensive.
Just read
a good thing.
I mean,
A thing I do is I think I'm a bit of a special case because I live in Austria, and in Austria there are still all major news publications are independent.
They say they are here, but they're not.
Yeah, like there's the Falter, which isn't a news, which is a very strange sort of newspaper because they're kind of a non-profit organization. They're just a bunch of people coming together, publishing articles,
Was that
and they've exposed a lot of political scandals over the years.
Actually, this is a good time to plug my up-and-coming website,
Oh god!
Material Necessity. Me and some friends from the hellhole that is Instagram politics have decided to make a website where we talk about theory and the news.
Oh, boys.
I guess we can,
I.e., I hate myself, and I'm doing this and it's like self-harm, basically.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Okay,
I'm going to
also,
shift us back
While
on.
I'm here, before we do that, I'm gonna shout out my boys from my partner channel, Shonen Ronin, in the chat. There they are. Hi guys. Anime communism, rise up. If you haven't subscribed to them, by the way, and you're even slightly a weeb, please go do that. All right, carry on, TK.
Sorry. Yeah, I just I wanted to bring it back to the striking Amazon workers. Given that for a very long time in the US especially, that union membership has just been spiraling. All around the world, it's just been in some places stagnating and in other places just going down. Is this a good sign to see that, in America at least, the unions with what they have are actually taking action against those capitalist pigs? And is it going to spark off something more?
Well, it's definitely a sign that it is the end of complacency. It's an end of the age of you got to sort things out with your employer peacefully. It's an end to that era of U.S. job politics. It is the beginning of, rather, the re-emergence of
We are
class.
returning to tradition.
Yeah, we are returning. Well, not shut up. To we're returning to viewing like employment and employer as a divide rather than a partnership, which is the lie that Americans especially have been spoon-fed for the past century or so.
Well, yeah, I mean, looking
People
at
are
it,
waking up. Yeah, people are waking up to the fact that their employers, their bosses, their foremen, and the likes, they're not their friends, and they gotta all the little guys, they gotta, and girls gotta, and MBs gotta, stick together
Be-
to form a wall.
be mad. Be
Yeah.
mad. I think the biggest example of this, not wanting to get too reformist and liberal and opportunist for the boys in the chat and girls NB's variations thereupon, is that Bernie Sanders, the man, the unit, got up and actually has confirmed that the House of Reps did pass and did go, hey, the $15 minimum wage is a good idea. This is something that needs to happen. The Republicans in the Senate have flipped their shit. Mitch McConnell won't even bring that legislation to the Senate. He won't bring it. He's just refused. And Macca's in America have started to unionize like all fuckery. And as a former Macca's employee, can I just say, yes. Round of applause for Macca's America. Just please. You guys are heroes. Like, as a McDonald's employee who worked in Australia, the Australian McDonald's union, until the arrival of Hospo Voice, the McDonald's union in Australia was the SDA, SDA. And they take kickbacks from fucking Macca's in return for membership. Like, we're talking a union. We're talking a union that is in bed with the employer and whose last major policy action in the fucking... their last major policy action was, hey, we're going to cut funding to various sectors of our movement and we're going to cut support unless unless the Labour Party or members of the Labour Party voted against same-sex marriage.
Oh my god.
They're a
Thank you,
conservative
Bob Hawke. Thank you, Keating.
Ugh. I just like the SDA. I'm going to go on my mini rant. The SDA is the literal embodiment of cancer. Like we talk about fascists and everything being cancer. No. They're just the enemy. They're just virus. They're just bad guys. We know they're bad guys. So the SDA are cancer. They call themselves a union. They infest workplaces, and then they sit there and they're like, "Oh, we're for the workers. We value our work." Fuck off.
You know that German song, like the interval period, the worst enemy, worst kind of enemy. It's the one that
Never heard it.
sits in. Well, it's a song about how the worst enemy is the guy that isn't the guy that stands across the fence and shoots you. It's the guy that sits in your rank, speaks your slogans, and shoots you in the back.
That's the SDA right there.
Well, yeah. Look, I'm speaking through my veil of anonymity right now because me and my union organizer got in trouble, starting a fight with SDA people in public. Well, the NUW and the SDA do not see one of them's like, we need to work with our employers to build a progressive workplace, that while the NUW crew are carrying signs that say capital is built on blood. So yeah.
Jesus Christ.
We've got to do some IWW. You guys have got to reach out to the W, man. Like, I mean,
Hey,
have we?
We should all build
one big union.
Yeah. So as
one big union,
as this class consciousness, putting the correct words out there. I'm a real leftist. Class consciousness. So as people are starting to wake up and see that their boss isn't their friend and they want to do something, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to join a union. Should the fight then be to say, hey, yeah, you should join the correct union. Don't join these guys. You should join these guys. So we've agitated them. How do we educate them?
In terms of in the Australian context, like, our anti-union laws are still very much so in effect. Like, to even go through something like an industrial action, don't you have to like sit in a tribunal or something like that, as I understand it? So I mean,
yeah,
that's one of the big problems as well. Like, they've so effectively legislated against what were once very large grassroots organizations.
Yeah, as adversarial and militant as unions can be in Australia, they put one foot wrong, and the long dick of the law can just punch them right in the face. Like,
I mean, you look at how the CFMEU is, right? Like,
oh yeah,
it's one of the unions that refuses to bow down to this stuff, and it constantly demonizes, all this sort of shit. Yeah, and like, the IWW barely has like any members, although I can't give you like a figure in terms of something concrete, but yeah, like, unions that do shit aren't loved, which has always been the case, but it's particularly the case now.
well, unions that do shit are loved by the people they help, but they're demonized by the media and the current government. Even Labour are very I don't know about that John Setka guy or the CFMEU.
Can I say?
yeah, go ahead, Theo.
I think our course of action should be to continue what we're doing on as large of a scale as possible, help as many people as possible, because once you helped someone not go bankrupt because they needed braces or a fucking operation, they're not going to care what the media tells them. They know, hey, these guys helped me out when I really needed that.
I was listening to some stories with like the experience of like tenant organizing in the United
Yeah.
States, and it's they literally just come out with the fact that they're communists, but the fact that that when they do something for them, it then doesn't affect it. If anything, it welcomes them. You know what I mean? So exactly right.
You know who in America doesn't hate the black bloc?
Who?
It's the people who the black bloc protects. The
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
You know-
marginalized group at large.
you know, protesters, Black Lives Matter activists usually have a black bloc accompanying them, and they're the people that shield them from the police. So when they get home afterwards and fucking CNN or whatever tells them that these black blocs are just violent, evil thugs, they're not gonna believe them. These people potentially just saved their lives.
There was
Doesn't-
that guy that went on the news. I believe it was during Charlottesville. He went on and said the only reason that I'm alive and talking to you right now is because Antifa, because he said Antifa protected us from the tiki torch wielding alt-right. They were the thing that kept us alive, and I could see in his eyes, like I could see through his eyes into his brain, and the gears turning, and a message being printed out in his brain, like maybe
That's
they're not
I
the
think
enemy.
that's something I think we've forgotten about. The fact that we're not just here to fight something. Ultimately, we're also here to help people.
We're gonna make something, not just break something.
That's the thing you gotta sort of look at. Like, people sort of forget what kind of role, because people sort of forget, like, that Antifa is not it's not some consolidated, unified force with a leadership. It's a collective response. Like, Antifa is comprised of not just anarchists. It's comprised of Marxists. It's comprised of even tankies, some of them. You know, it's comprised of people who recognize that you've got groups like the 3%ers and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, a bunch of fucking white supremacist tryhards who come up and they're sort of like, oh yeah, we're here to protect the Constitution and freedom and United States and yeah, go raw. And you know, they're open carrying weapons to a protest, you know, to, you know, intimidate people. And then it's like that Pikachu meme. When the people start fighting back, they're like, what? Violence? We're not openly here brandishing machine guns and then you're throwing shit at us. Like, come on. Like,
You got
you go
milkshake
around
on my
persecuting
AR-15.
To be fair, I'd be pissed off if someone put milkshake on my AR-15, but I don't own one. But if I did, I'd be a bit annoyed because then I have to
He
clean the
says
fucking thing.
to protect yourself from the Australian government.
Look,
Fuck
for
me.
those who
My AR-15 was within 15 meters of a grain of sand. It's gonna jam.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
boy.
waiting for one some to jump in, like just to randomly force his way into the stream and just be like, okay, now hold on a minute.
He just commented, "I hate the 3%ers." Like, that's good. Okay, you're a good lad.
There's hope for you yet, Scotty. There's hope for you yet. Oh, I just doxed you, but okay, there's hope for you yet.
Moving on.
The 3%ers,
Yeah.
the 3%ers, just oh my god. Oh,
See, I think that's
just-
an important aspect we got to remember is when a person who is at work, who's on a production line or is working in a cafe, you know, they're not very political, they haven't joined the union, and they look up at the TV screen and they see all this news going about, you know, back and forth. There's two people, right, that are going to try to talk to that worker. There's us, the unionists, who want to help, but then there's also the people from the right who are going to try to co-opt them into their movement. So if we don't get to them first, if we don't say to them, we are actually here to help, what do you need help with? If we're not there, boots on the ground, then they're going to get scooped up by the 3%ers or the Proud Boys or the this or the that. So I guess my question is like, should we be doing more? Should we, when we have a demonstration, march into a workplace and say, right, let's get you all signed up?
It's a bit of an interesting thing because there is an attitude amongst unions, and rightly so due to past experiences of fuck scabs, right? And we all agree, fuck scabs.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I made a point because of my workplace's unique conditions. I work in an office. I work in a call center. Call centers are notoriously hard to unionize because on the one hand, you've got people. On the one hand, you've got people who are so dejected and so downtrodden that they don't want to organize because they feel like they'll get sacked at any time and they're afraid of their position. And on the other hand, you've got the preppy up and coming salespeople looking to climb the corporate ladder, and they don't want anything to do with the union because they are either inherently hostile to unions or they don't want to dirty their books in the face of management.
I have an extremely casualized workforce. I'd imagine.
Yeah. Mine is actually amazingly permanent, mostly. But they have a probationary period of 3 months where they can sack you for literally anything.
But is that because of the union?
No, it's because I think it's something because turnover is so high at our center specifically that they use the permanent position as an incentive. Because voluntary resignation is so high. Granted, our center's conditions, unless you're, to my shame, I am a very talented capitalist for all things considered, which is kind of working against my own self-interest. I should switch sides theoretically, but I can't. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did.
My God, you have a conscience.
I know, and that's the thing. That's the thing. You can't be I think that's one of the biggest arguments. Thank you for bringing that up, TK. After my experiences in the workplace, you can't be a capitalist and have a conscience, really. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. The point is, I have made a point of I will only officially, legally, quotation marks, represent people who are members of the union. But I have also openly stated to everyone who's around that while I can only legally represent you and bat for you and get Fair Work involved and all that, if you're a member of the union, if you're not a member and you want someone to voice your concerns to HR for you, or if you are someone who is not a member of the union but wouldn't mind the union coming in to watch their formal meeting, I would be more than happy to, because what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, look, you're not a member, and I can understand finances are tight. Maybe you want to save some money, and of course there are benefits to being with the union, but at the same time, the union is here to help all the workers. We're here to help everybody, and if you need a hand, if you need something done in the workplace that you can't necessarily do yourself, I will more than happily go up to do it for you. I will help. And I have seen membership grow because of that, because people have been like, okay, these people are actually doing something.
I think we should probably move on to the last topic of today.
Yeah.
Which is the storming of ICE centers. The American.
So we think we've said all we can about
I could talk about unions for years.
Okay,
but
which is why we're not going to do it.
Good point.
Yeah.
If you do want to continue that conversation, dear listeners, you should come join us on the Eastern Marshlands Discord. I will try to get a link into the description, and I'm copying a invite link now, putting it into the chat. There it is. Come join us, join in the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And when you do subscribe or donate, it'll appear in the bottom left corner of the screen. Here's an example. Eastern Marshlands just subscribed to itself. Yeah, well done. Yeah. And don't forget to, if you would like to donate, using the Streamlabs donation button, or to our Patreon, any little bit that you can spare helps us a long way, and it helps us get content out to you. So, the last thing, the third topic that we're going to talk about is protesters shutting down an ICE HQ in DC. Theo, did you want to update us on that?
I didn't have any information. I just didn't want us to get stuck on a topic for 2 hours.
Good point. Good point. Okay. Well,
I'll rant. I can rant about unions forever. Yeah.
okay.
That's why I
Storming
interject.
ICE.
Yeah. So for those wondering, yes, some protesters managed to shut down, I think temporarily, an ICE headquarters in DC. I believe it was done through a peaceful protest. They just created a human chain around the building, which prevented anybody from going in and out. ICE vans couldn't go in and out either. But I think this is something that might signal bigger things to come. Would you guys agree?
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I apologize. I just have to say this before we start. The reason why I just burst out laughing is the right-wing paper, crypto owned by Rupert Murdoch, has already written a post on this. Has already written an article, and it's titled, and I'm not kidding, CNN recently glorified antifa terrorists killed in ICE detention center. It's
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Left-wing Antifa terrorist shot by police while firebombing an immigration facility.
Well,
We're calling it an immigration facility. Oh, that's nice.
Well, that's the other story here, is that a hero, Eastern Marshlands does not support violence, a martyr to the cause, tried to fire...
Well, this hero did not hurt anyone. This hero only destroyed property.
That's right.
And that's what's important.
But it's illegal.
Yeah.
Americans
Someone
love,
paid for that barbed wire fence separating kids from their
Americans love
family.
property more than they love human life.
Yeah,
It's
that's
true.
true.
I've
We've got more laws protecting that.
I have to say the username now. Oh god. Prager Bussy says literal Antifa super soldiers. And yeah, this absolute mad lad actually went to an ICE facility and firebombed property, vehicles and such. Didn't actually hurt anybody, but I believe in a standoff or a shootout with the police, he tragically lost his life. Then the protesters...
Wait, hold on. We
Yeah.
found out later, I believe the person was trans, so she.
Sorry. She tragically lost her life. Then the protesters shut down the ICE HQ in DC. So, yeah, with
There was-
sorry, with the recent raid Area 51, they can't stop us all thing. Do you think?
Yeah, they
think
can't
quotes-
stop us all.
Yeah. Do you think it's
Imagine. Okay, listen. Imagine thinking this, right, and saying like, they can't stop us all, and not applying that to the fucking government and everything that's shit today. Imagine not thinking they can't stop us all because they can't. Don't think up to this meme of Area 51. They can't stop us all. No, they can't stop us all. The government can't stop us all.
Haha,
Is
what
this-
a
is this-
funny joke? Like, no, it's serious. They can't stop us all.
Is this like the Area 51 situation? Is this the start of the Boogaloo? Is this where it happened?
Funny thing, Scotty actually showed this to me earlier. There's actually threat briefings on happening.
I just saw a picture of, I think it's an Air Force guy, pointing at a screen, and it says Naruto Run, and then the second picture is him demonstrating what a Naruto Run is.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. The best part of this whole meme is that someone in the Pentagon somewhere had to explain to like a 70-year-old 3-star general what a Naruto run was and how effective it would be in evading their defenses. But in all seriousness, back onto the topic. Like, look, we're communists. We believe in internationalism and the dissolution of national borders. Yay, go us. But, you know, in the whole neoliberal world and so forth, like immigration control of some kind, like visas and passports, this makes some sort of sense. What it doesn't mean is putting children in concentration camps and then putting armed guards around them.
Now I have to ask, did anyone see the footage of Mike Pence at the camp on the southern border?
Oh,
It
sorry.
It wasn't.
Oh, sorry. Do you mean Heinrich Himmler?
Basically.
Okay, wait, hold on. Do you guys know the origin of like green cards and shit in America?
I know that
Because
exists,
I can
but
get
not the
why.
origin.
Okay, so before the 1930s, we didn't have that at all. It was you showed up and you could apply, right? A lot of people's grandmothers and great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers and great-grandfathers came to the United States to Ellis Island, and their immigration forms would even say things like stowaway, for example, right? And that was a valid way to get into this country, right? But in the 1930s, what happened was a refugee crisis. I wonder from where? Europe. Of who? Jewish people. And we made it to make sure Jewish people couldn't come here. It's just like how we sent ships of Jewish people back to Germany, which we did, and we have evidence of this happening. We sent them back, and they died. So, the origin of the modern immigration system in America is literally based on the facilitation of a genocide, being complacent in a genocide.
Yeah.
Complacent is a bit generous, don't you think?
Yes, it is. Being a facilitator of this of the Holocaust, knowingly or not, but at least like we helped.
I think
Someone want to bring up the fact that someone want to bring up a fact that a third of the trucks that the Wehrmacht used to invade the Soviet Union were Fords. But anyway, moving on.
I think a word that you could use to describe the current situation is willful ignorance. People are seeing pictures on their screens of mass concentrations of brown people. As bad as it is to say, it's just people whose skin color is a little bit darker than white being forced into behind chain link fences, and then senators and prominent party members are being shown through these camps. Like, look how humanely we're treating them. We're letting them drink out of the toilet. You don't see
Which
any...
is a very scary, which is a very scary parallel to the propaganda visits the Nazis did, like with the Red Cross visits to the concentration camp in Theresienstadt.
Oh, fucking Theresienstadt. Yeah, look how well we're treating all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Roma and the Sinti.
It's dehumanization to an extreme. Like
pets behind cages.
Yeah.
It looks like you're fucking like you're putting people into a humane society, but not a humane society. Like behind like a fucking pound for dollars.
Yeah. I say.
Also, did you?
So go ahead.
Sorry, continue on.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, Trump, he ran a military parade. This was no one attended, or barely anyone attended, like by invitation. It was really, really strange. But there was one person who immolated themselves in front of the White House. They were Indian and nothing. No, I only found out about it recently, but yeah, it's complete. It's like it's surreal. You know what I mean? It's you couldn't make this shit up.
This is the first I've actually heard about it.
Yeah.
Bless you.
it happened.
It did show up fairly prominently in Austrian media.
Yeah,
I
but
think
your
the
media is
headline.
competent. Ours isn't.
Well, ours isn't. We're not in NATO, so we're just kind of not.
Yeah,
That helps. That helps.
NATO
that does
guy.
help.
Like, I think the headline was parallel to U.S. President's nearly empty military parade. Man sets himself on fire in front of the White House.
Hey, we got a donation, comrades.
Yes, from
Thank you, Zordon.
Zordon. Thank you, Zordon.
Yeah.
Money.
I don't know why it's not
Yay.
coming up as a donation thing, widget thing.
It'll take a while, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
it just
boy.
takes a little bit.
Okay, but thank you,
Yeah,
Zordon.
wait.
That's a big help.
Make it rain.
Holla holla gadollar.
There we go.
There we go.
Wait, where is the ding? Where is
Ding.
the...
Well, we'll figure
Yeah.
it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll try to fix it later. Yeah. So
Right, all right. Ding. Done.
Yeah, there you
even even though I shouldn't generalize and say everyone in America is willfully ignorant. There's a lot of angry people, such as ourselves, such as just regular apolitical people in America. But as soon as they see the bullshit that's on their borders and in DC and all throughout America, they get angry, they get agitated.
But they're being lied to constantly. That's what the media infrastructure is for. Like,
exactly.
you even look at how like Tucker Carlson and people like that then have to then readjust their rhetoric to make them appear more favorable to like the working class, as if there's some kind of they sympathize with them, it's just lies, just barrages of lies.
I don't know. I want to bring this up, like just as me being a memer, but I mean, what Shonen Ronin put in the chat is a very good point. It like the fact that someone self-immolated, as a demonstration, and the parallels it has to the Vietnam War, like that is, as he says, a pretty solid indictment of where America is at. We're back in that Vietnam era kind of situation with Afghanistan. As I mentioned,
Possibly Iran soon.
Yeah, my personal friend, one who's in the chat, he went, and like, you got to put it in perspective. My friends who are vets, of which I have quite a few, we were all children when this war started, and we're still fucking there.
Yeah.
Like, and what little good we're achieving is going to be immediately erased by the Taliban and ISIS.
I'm going to
that
quote
they
a
created,
YouTube video
here.
Yes. I'm going to quote a YouTube video here. Ahoy, if you're familiar with it. At the end of the Cold War, you thought fighting communism was hard, or rather, you thought fighting the communist bloc was hard. Try fighting an abstract concept.
Yeah.
Fought an idea, Picard.
You can't kill an idea, and this is the thing. Like, we're in that point, but on a lighter note, I want to talk about just how fucking bad Donald Trump's so-called parade was supposed to be.
Oh boy.
Because, look,
Stars and Stripes for the next 2.5 minutes.
I know, right? I would have. I'm not gonna look. So I need to self-crit or die on this, but I do love myself a good military parade, but that wasn't a good one. You see, look, the U.S. Air Force showed up. The U.S. Air Force showed up, and for all the evil they do, they are impressive. But Washington's roads couldn't support the Abrams or the Bradley to drive on it, so they just had to park them in the middle of the fucking Capitol Mall. Just they could sort of park them there.
Oh my god.
He's trying to do the flip thing. He's trying to do the Putin thing. Like everybody, I would assume that a few of you here, a few of us watch the channel, even if it is neoliberal hellscape under Putin right now. I still watch the Victory Day parade every year. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
that's the Soviet. That's how you do a military parade.
It's a little
right?
guilty pleasure to get a big,
It's a guilty
big bottle
pleasure.
of vodka, wear a Yushenka, and just shed a tear for those
Yeah.
lost while watching the May Day parade.
I think
Yeah,
we've been going for
it is
some
that.
for some hour and a half now. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the dialectic in motion.
but it really is that. Like, I watched like the march of the relatives legion. I can't remember what they're called, but like where they all carry photos of the people lost during the Great Patriotic War, because that's what it's actually called, despite what revisionists say. Because Russia did all the work, but anyway, or the Soviets did all the work. But you know, they have that, and then you have the parade, and you know, just for a minute, like I know it's really guilty of me, but I close my eyes and just for a minute, the moment Putin's speech finishes and they do the minute silence, and then they fire up the Soviets melody, the national anthem's melody, I close my eyes and just pretend, just for a minute, please.
So okay,
Because-
so we've got
Yeah.
Trump. We've got Trump that's trying to, bump up the image of the military-industrial complex right there in Washington.
And then
We have ICE
then
agents
fail.
ripping children away from their parents and locking them in cages and making them drink out of toilets. You have propaganda visits from congressmen, going through these detention centers, concentration camps, whatever they are. And people are mad, but my question is sort of in two parts. Why aren't people rising up and burning down, freeing the people, then burning down the ICE camps? And how do we get people from freeing the people and burning down these ICE camps? EML does not support
People
violence.
can
And they don't see them as people. Like,
That's it.
that, and people don't realize that there is a way to stop the government from doing something. They don't realize that you can actually shut down.
People like to demonstrate. They don't like to finish the job nowadays. People like to be all high and mighty and have their formalism. Basically, they like to be formal. They don't. They think it's uncivilized.
We
even
can't
though
strike without a
you get
permit.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. They're stuck in this like liberal mindset of we have to do everything by the books, guys. If we break the
civility.
law, then we're worse
That's
than
the
them.
whole
Yeah.
discourse. It keeps being brought up. It's like, oh, whatever happened to treating each other with respect? No, screw that shit. People are dying. You know what?
Get mad, break stuff, be gay, do
Please.
crime. God, please do like it.
I'm
It's not
proud of
a
you,
matter of-
Peter. But go on.
I just don't like the thing is that stops us from doing that sort of thing is the same thing that stops communist movements all over the place, and the same thing that stops us in the union here in Australia from being more militant is that we need that critical mass of angry people.
Mm.
And right now we've got a lukewarm, even spread of annoyed people right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a solid massive, call it in America's case, considering the population and size, it's gonna need a solid mass of maybe 2 million people to stand up really fucking angry and take the fight and go, no, shut up.
All
We're
right.
doing it.
So
Yeah.
we have to remember two things, though. So if all of you have this like revolutionary pipe dream right now, not feasible. We can't substitute. We can't be substitutionists, and we can't just go out and be adventurists. We have to actually spread class consciousness and make people understand what we're talking about, and then be the guiding hand once it finally fucking does something. Because
We can't
a revolutionary wave has to happen.
We don't want to LARP.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to LARP. We want, and remember, there's no such thing as an ML revolution. There's no such thing as an anarchist revolution or whatever. There is a proletarian revolution, and that is it. That's all we need. That's all we are after. We don't want some ideologically bullshit thing because ideology, even Engels says, is a false consciousness.
The order
Sniff.
the order it
So-
goes in is you agitate, then you educate, then you organize. People are fucking agitated. Now's the time to educate. Then
Can
we
I add one? Can I add
organize.
one?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Can we please also table a motion to resurrect Harry Haywood,
Yes.
Big Bill, as it were, just like
Big Bill.
But okay, don't mistake me calling it a revolutionary pipe dream for me at all being a reformist. There is no reform. There is no way for reform. That would be tantamount to being Kautskyite, and I am no fucking Kautskyite. There is no reform.
Right, if I may end this little quadro. Our course of action internationally, wherever you may be personally, is to get people together who you can in your workplace, your neighborhood, your family. You organize, you agitate, you spread the information that you are aware of. You help people, that's important. You help people not die, go through their everyday lives without dying. And through that we can begin to build a movement. And with a movement we can go about abolishing the current state of things. That is my ending statement for tonight.
I think that's a very succinct point to end on. Does anyone else have any last words or plugs?
Not really. Just read more, please,
Google.
and don't read interpretations of people themselves. I hate when people read an interpretation of somebody. I hate it. Read the person themselves, and if you then need help, read an interpretation, but don't just read an interpretation.
Okay. Alrighty. I think I'll plug next. If any of you are going to be, if any of our Down Under comrades are going to be in Melbourne next weekend, the Red Mushroom, myself, and TK will be in Federation Square in the afternoon sometime. Time to be advised.
Oh, there'll be more than just us three. There's actually going to be a fair few.
Another donation. Same person.
There should be us. Yeah. We've got several other comrades coming as well that you might know of. Big guy Liam is said to be coming as well.
The big man himself.
The big man himself. We've got other comrades hopefully coming around. Porco, I think, is coming. Basically, there is a good chunk of EML showing up to Federation Square next weekend. If y'all want to come along, and you live in the Down Under or nearby, or can feasibly make it to Melbourne, please do. We'd love to meet you. Oh yeah, and Zordon's being an absolute stan in the chat.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep,
thanks
Zordon
again.
another $2. Thank you again.
And by the way, subscribe to Posadis Pac-Man and subscribe to my friends over at Shonen Ronin who are also in the chat there now.
All right. I think we've
Earlier.
Yep. Go ahead.
One thing. Earlier, I think I conflated Big Bill Haywood and Harry Haywood, but we can do a kind of Frankenstein thing, so we can like put some body parts to each and just
Mix them.
By our powers combined.
yeah.
Fucking Pac-Man. It'll just be like that fucking Dragon Ball show.
Yeah.
Super Haywood.
Super Haywood.
Super Haywood. Yeah, like fusion. Like
Alright,
fucking fusion.
I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat. Special thanks to Zordon for donating twice. The Mad Lad, thank you so much. I want to say
Absolute madman.
3 times.
Hey!
Hey! It's a hat trick. Thank you again, Zordon. And a special thank you to Theo, Positus, Pac-Man, Red Mushroom, and Dipdat for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can donate to our Patreon as well. You can also join us on the EML Discord and get updates from my Twitter account at EMLTKJones. Educate, and organize. See you all later.
Bye.